Counseling? What a joke. Why should I need anger management? I only did what any normal guy would do, right? Sure, some people got hurt, but they had it coming. They were the ones who threw my life into chaos, so now theirs is spinning out of control too. Where's the harm in that? Hi, everyone. My name is Hank Wilson, and apparently, I have anger issues. I leaned back, folding my arms as I glanced around the room. This group counseling was court-ordered, and I was here against my will. I'm 35, married for now, and a father of 3, 2 boys and a girl I love more than anything. Jeff, the group counselor appointed by the court, looked at me with that practiced, neutral expression. Hank, can you tell us why the court mandated your presence here today? I sighed, feeling the weight of the eyes on me. Well, Jeff, that's not exactly a short story. Jeff gave me a nod, not missing a beat. That's fine, Hank. We have the next 3 hours. Take as long as you need. I felt the familiar rush of frustration simmering beneath my skin, but pushed it back as I started. I won't bore you with how I met my wife, but her name is Kathy, and there was a time I thought she was the most stunning woman alive. This all started because I went to a stag party. My brother was getting married, and we were sending him out with a bang. We went all out strippers and hooker. After all, this was my little brother. I told Kathy about every little part of it. I didn't want anything coming back on me. The party was a blast. It started about 3 p.m. on Saturday and ended Sunday at 7 p.m. It only ended then when the cops came to the room because of the noise. I had talked to Kathy at least 12 times over the length of the party. My brother got married, and they left for their honeymoon. It had been about 3 months since the party, and life was back to normal, or so I thought. I came home from work and went to the bathroom and took a long shower. I will be the first to admit it. I smelled like crap. I am a fisherman by trade, but I love working on the docks. I think it because the guys can be guys, you know. We hang out, talk shit and work. I was just coming out of the shower and everything went black. It had to be a truck, but how did it get in my bathroom? I tried to get up, but for some reason I couldn't move. I looked around and everything was fuzzy. All I could make out were 2 figures in front of me. As my eyes came into focus, my wife and her sister were standing in front of me. So, you want to cheat on me, said Kathy. What is wrong with you? I said and tried to get up and finally noticed that I was duct taped to the chair. And when I say duct taped, I mean it was wrapped around my ankles at least 20 times. I couldn't move 1 freaking inch. Let me go right now, I said. I will after I get even with you, you a-hole, said Kathy. Get even? What in the world was she talking about? I didn't do anything. My brother and I made sure we broke none of the rules that were set. They both left. I must have sat there for an hour before they came back. Kathy strolled in followed by 5 of the guys from the stag party. I looked up and told them to set me free. Mark had always been one of my oldest friends. I've known him for more than 20 years. He was my best man, and I named my son after him. His wife was the only woman in the world other than my wife that I truly trusted. Mark bent down and looked me straight in my eyes and said, Hank, you shouldn't have cheated on Kathy. And before I could respond, Kathy forced a gag into my mouth. Cheat on Kathy? That jerk knew I had never betrayed her. Needless to say, they screwed for 3 hours straight. When they finished, she went in the shower and left me alone with my 5 ex-friends. Mark said, too bad we didn't tape it. I just sat there, not moving, until one of the other guys removed the gag. I flexed my jaw and simply looked at them. Mark walked up and said, she was good. I have always wanted to screw her. I just couldn't pass up this chance. I know after this we won't be friends again, but I just had to do it. I didn't say anything, I just looked at him and smiled. Mark said, Hank, let it go, because if you don't, someone will get hurt. Then he punched me in the face with what I don't know, but I woke up about a couple hours later in the hospital. I looked over and saw Kathy sitting in the chair. She must have dozed off, so I got the nurse's attention. Can you please call the police for me, please? I asked. The nurse was about to ask why, when I showed her my wrists. She said she'd be right back. She came back about 5 minutes later and said they're on the way. When the officers got there, Kathy had finally woken up. She asked what was going on. I said, my name is Hank Wilson. About 7 hours ago, my wife had some men tie me down and humiliate me in front of her as payback for what she believed was me cheating on her. The only problem, other than her proving how much of a bitch she really is that I never cheated. I can give you the name of each person there. I know for a fact that 2 of the guys are cops. So if you aren't going to do your jobs, leave now, and when I get out I can take that to the state attorney's office. The officer said, sir, just tell us what happened. I explained everything to him about the party and the events that had taken place. Kathy just sat there, listening in shock. I told the officer that a recording of the party had been made as a way to keep everything on record. I also mentioned that if anyone had been with an escort, it would be clear on the tape. The officer stepped over to Kathy and asked her to stand. "Ma'am, you have the right to remain silent," the officer said as she was charged with assault and kidnapping. I provided them with the names of each of the men involved in the incident. I thought to myself, it's time to bring the pain. I had gotten hurt, now it was time to hurt everyone involved. As Kathy was being let out, she looked back and told me this wasn't over. "You're lying, Hank, and I'm going to make you pay." The officer told her that she also was being charged with making a threat against my person. I had a week hospital visit and formed a plan to bring the pain. I had quite a few licks to collect on. A lot of people were going to get hurt by this, so I had to be sure that I really wanted to get even. So I made a list. First, they put me in the hospital. Second, they lied on me and put me in the hospital. 3. They screwed my wife and put me in the hospital. 4. My wife is a 304 and helped them put me in the hospital. Well, so much for the list. They can have the 304, and besides, I am in the hospital. I am getting even if it kills me. What I had planned just might. I sat in the hospital for the next week plotting and planning. I got out of the hospital and went to the bank. I took out $500, and while I was there, the teller let me know that my wife had been trying to take out money. She got pissed when she found out that her name wasn't on any of my accounts. Then she came back with her lawyer and was told that even with a lawyer, her name wasn't on any of the accounts. They left pissed. I headed right to my brother and asked if he knew a good lawyer. He was pissed at me and asked how I could have our friends arrested. As I turned to leave, he ran out and stopped me. "Hank, what is going on?" asked my brother. For the next hour, I explained to him and his wife all that had happened. They sat there with their eyes bugged and mouths wide open. When I finished, his wife looked at me and called me a liar. My brother told her that I never lie and she should stay out of it. She told him he didn't know shit and to shut his mouth. He asked her what was wrong with her. If she was on that 304 side, then get out. "This is my brother, you moron." She looked at him and got up and left. She went in their bedroom, got her purse, and told him she was going out. My brother looked her in the eye and told her to let him make something perfectly clear to her. "If you get involved in this and you aren't on my brother's side, then let me know. We can get this marriage annulled, because you're either with us or you're not." She looked at him and walked out the door. We heard the car start then. The door opened and she walked and dropped her wedding ring on the floor. My brother said, "So be it." Then she turned and left. The first thing we both did was headed for a lawyer. We put my plan into motion. The shit would hit the fan by the end of the week. Friday, D-Day started with a bang. At 9 o'clock, my realtor placed a for sale sign in my front yard, just as Kathy was leaving for work. Kathy jumped out the car and asked, "What are you doing?" The realtor showed her the owner was putting up the paperwork showing house for sale. Kathy screamed, "He couldn't do this." "Sure he can, it's his house." While at work, Kathy's boss walked in with a young guy and said that he was looking for her. The guy asked if she was Kathy Wilson. Kathy said, "Yes, I'm Kathy Wilson." He handed her a large brown envelope and said, "You've been served." Later that day, I received no less than 50 phone calls. 5 wives asked what the hell was going on. I told each and every one of them the whole story. I left nothing out. I received no less than 30 death threats. I recorded each of them. While they were ranting, I was laughing my butt off. It seemed to piss them off even more. What I'll never understand is when you screw some guy's wife and beat him up, why wouldn't you think he was going to get even? The next day, my lawyer delivered 5 sets of civil lawsuits. I was asking for $5 million apiece. I sued Kathy for causing body damage and theft of private property. My brother just chugged right along with me. He had a few run-ins with our so-called friends and family. The trial day for the assault charges were closing in. My brother's wife wanted to talk, but she had made her choice and so had he. As I was leaving work the day before the trial, Mark stepped out from behind a car and tried to grab me. I pulled out my .38 and shot him in his balls, by mistake of course. When the police got there, he was screaming that I tried to kill him. I told the cops what happened, and if they didn't believe me, go look at the security camera tapes. Mark started looking around and saw that there were cameras all over the place. "Mark, you're such a dumb idiot, but don't worry, they might be able to reattach your balls. But if they can't, we know who will be the bitch in jail. A man with no balls in prison. Boy, will you very be popular," I said. The officer came back with the security tapes and asked to see my gun permit. I pulled it out and showed it to him. The officer said I was free to go. The trial was a slam dunk. The stag party tape not only showed that I never cheated, it also showed me calling Kathy every few hours. Mark and Kathy decided to stand trial together. She just knew they would walk away free and clear. The judge asked Kathy who told her I cheated, and she said Mark. Mark's attorney said that it was a lie. He said Kathy was a 304 and had always wanted Mark to screw her. Kathy sat on the stand with her mouth open, Her attorney yelled, "Objection," and asked for a recess. Kathy's attorney came over to me and asked me to talk with him for a minute. "Hank, I know you hate her right now, but can you just let her go down in flames?" said her attorney. "Why would I help that bitch? They tied me up and put me in the hospital, and you want me to help her? Screw her. I could have died, so let her fry," I said as I walked away. Kathy asked if she could speak to me for a second. "Hank, I'm sorry. I know I screwed up. I was just so mad. I never thought he would have set me up. Come on, Hank, you know I have a bad temper. Hank, I know you still love me. Somewhere deep down you love me. So please put aside your pride and please help me," said Kathy. "Kathy, you hurt me. I mean, you really hurt me. I am going to go against my better judgment and ask the DA to take it easy on you," I said as I left to go chat with the DA. I smiled and walked over to the DA and bent down by his ear. "Fry this bitch, please." I looked over at them and gave them the thumbs up. I would help her like she helped me while I was tied and beat down. Now you want my help. Kathy was sentenced to 8 years. Mark was sentenced to 25 years. When the rest of the guys learned about the length of the jail sentences, they all wanted to make deals. Mark's wife Karen came up to me after he was sentenced. "Hank, I know he hurt you and ruined your marriage. But did you have to do this to us?" asked Karen. "Karen, I know you're hurting, but they tied me down. Your husband hit me so much I had a week's stay in the hospital. They and Kathy left me sitting there bleeding. I did what needed to be done. I wanted to kill them all. At least this way you have something to look forward to. He'll get out someday and you guys can move on, but I lost my wife, my friends and some family, so who is hurt more?" I turned and walked away. You would think the story ends there, but it doesn't. I'm in anger management class because, while Mark was in jail awaiting transport to prison, I was arrested for drunk driving. While serving my 10 days, I kicked his butt as many times as I could. I bashed him in the face while we were in the rec room. I hit him with a metal tray. I kicked him in what was left his balls 10 times. When I had to face the judge, he said he figured out what I had done. He gave me a $50 fine and time served. Over the next 4 trials, I managed to get even with every one of those maggots. 2 of them got jumped doing a bar fight. While the cops were on the way, someone happened to have a taser gun. They both took over 1,000 volts to the nuts. The last 2 were beaten by 4 masked guys. Funny thing, I was in Texas visiting my cousin. So now I'm sitting here talking shit with you guys because the judge thinks I have anger issues. They all sat there for a minute, and then they started clapping. I couldn't figure out what was going on. Jeff stood up and said, "Hank, you need to learn to go with the flow and not seek revenge." Then he looked at me and shook my hand. "Hank, you don't have to worry about losing money in your divorce. Mark and the others are in prison. What more could you ask for?" said Jeff. "Not one damn thing," I said. "Not one damn thing. I found out during the class that those a-holes got off easy. One of the guys in the class caught his wife cheating and shoved an axe handle up the guy's butthole. Another one placed a pair of vice grips on his wife's lover meat and locked it down. The guy who scared me the most was a doctor. He drugged his wife's lover and took off his balls. They all served at least 5 years, and as part of their parole they had to come to this class. I guess the judge is trying to tell me something. My brother's wife is back home and is trying everything to get him to forgive her. Kathy was her best friend. So, I told him to at least try. I let him know that she had chosen our side because she could have told Kathy what was planned, and she didn't. I'm dating this wild redhead I met while at the prison giving Kathy the final divorce papers. It seems that she was there for the same thing. Karen's divorce to Mark was now final, and she asked me out to talk about what Mark asked her to do. It seems that Mark has a few new friends in prison, and he wants her to kill me so he can ask for a new trial. So she told him about her plan for revenge. "Mark, I promise you that Hank will pay. I will make it slow and lasting. He will look into my eyes and know how I felt about what happened," said Karen. Mark was a very happy man, and Karen was right. As I looked into her eyes, I saw nothing but love during that moment of connection. Kathy writes me every week asking me to come talk to her. She knows she was wrong. It's just that she was so mad. She has even been going to group to talk about her issues. I know how that feels. How am I feeling right now?